You start letting them in.
Yeah, well, I can find the. Okay.
Let's go through it with entry level books.
Hi everybody, good to see you all. We'll make a start in a second. We'll just give it another minute or two for people to join.
How do we get the volume up on this? Oh.
Andrew, can I just use you as a test? Can you hear us okay? Can you hear us clearly?
Yeah, morning, Tim. Absolutely fine. Yep.
Perfect. Brilliant. Okay. So we'll just give it another half a minute and then we'll make a start. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll make a start if everyone's good to go. Just welcome you all. Thank you very much for joining us and good afternoon. So this is a Ceres research webinar, the aim of which is to introduce you to our membership service. For those who don't know me, I'm Tim Isaac. I will sort of loosely chair the session and I'll introduce you to my colleagues on the call in a second. But yeah, firstly, thank you very much all for joining us and giving up some time today. So if Louise, could you move on to the agenda? So in terms of what we're going to try and cover for you today, once we've done the introductions, I'll just take you through the team, the sort of services that we can offer at Ceres Research. We'll do an overview of the membership and take you through all the things like the insights, the reports, the interactive zone, talk a bit about the conference, and then we'll move on towards the end about how the subscription works, the discounts available, and we'll have a good opportunity at the end for you to ask any questions. When we get to that point, just note that you'll need to unmute yourselves, obviously, to ask questions, and also just to note that the webinar's being recorded so that it can be shared with colleagues and other members after the event, because a few people have said that they're keen to hear it but couldn't attend right now. So just be conscious that we are being recorded as we go through it. So moving on to the next slide, please. So just very quickly, I'm sure you're all aware of this, but I just thought it would help to just clarify so everyone's on the same page. So you'll all be familiar with Ceres Rural, which is where our own agronomy team sits along with all our farm consultants. Ceres Property is the sort of wider land consultancy planning development part of Ceres Group. And then for a year now, since last October, we've had Ceres Research, and the initial idea of Ceres Research was that it was there to support our rural and property businesses to make sure all the consultants were kept up to date and had that research function to support them. And then what we very quickly realised that service was in demand externally as well. So a number of people are now subscribing to access all the same information and insights, and we're developing the offer along those lines, and that's why we're here today. So next slide, please. So our mission statement hopefully chimes bells with you all. So it's to provide the best independent data-driven solutions for progressive farmers, agronomists and related businesses, powered by the latest research in agriculture and wider industries. And we're very proud of our association with and alliance with the AICC as members. And it's very important to us in terms of credibility. The independence is very much fundamental to what we do, and that's very much our sort of unique selling point in the marketplace. So there is a very close alignment, and so we're very pleased to have the opportunity to talk to you all today. Next slide, please. So just very briefly, the team, I'm sure most of you know most of these people, some new faces, some old faces. So myself, Alex, Danny and Louise, the sort of core of the team. Louise and I come with sort of general project management experience and knowledge exchange, and Alex and Danny bring the more scientific and analytical expertise. And so as a group of four, we have a fairly sort of well-rounded experience and knowledge in this area. And then we're supported by familiar faces such as Will and Jock and others that you would have met before in terms of the agronomy team on the ground. So that's the team. And on that basis, I'll now pass over to Alex, who'll start picking up a bit more detail around our services.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you to all for joining the call today. It's a pleasure for you to give me your time to listen to us today. So I hope you find it really insightful. So yeah, I'm going to run through our four main service categories that we provide to our clients. So the first of those is industry intelligence. So as Tim says, with access to our agronomists through Ceres Rural and through our network with the AICC, we're able to produce real-time insights through various different surveys, focus groups, practical analysis, etc. Really to make sure that the science and the research that Danny and I are compiling and pushing out either to internal audiences or our members is practically rooted in the challenges that farmers and growers and agronomists really face on the ground. Coming from academia, that was a real passion of mine to make sure that the science and the research is truly practical and relevant to what's going on at ground level. I'm going to jump around a bit here, but the second service I'm going to talk about is analysis and review. So this really leverages sort of the deep technical analytical skills and capabilities that Danny and I have got, working with Louise, particularly on using Microsoft Power BI to create dashboards and insightful sort of actionable insights, if you like. So analysis and review, we have companies coming to us asking to do sort of market studies on different products that they might have, biostimulants that are looking to reach market, and we're able to validate the data that those products are sort of founded on to make sure that the data is truly robust. I'm sure you know there's a lot of products out there that aren't necessarily validated with the data that they should be, so we can make sure that those products are the data that behind those products is valid. But this also includes things like policy review, strategic consultancy, etc. We can be quite broad in what we do under this category. So if you do have clients that are interested in sort of deep analysis of their data, for example, we can also help with that. As Tim said, a major part of Tim and Louise's expertise as part of Ceres research is in knowledge exchange. And this is about sort of not just dissemination, but a two-way engagement with farmers and growers that I'm sure, on this call we're all aware of. So we deliver that through tailored training programs, expert-led presentations, workshops, etc. So that, there are a variety of talks, both from scientists, Danny and I, but also agronomists from within Ceres Rural and wider, but also farmers and growers to give a deep personal perspective of what's going on the ground too. And we held our first event to Essex-based farmers in December last year, which went down very well. And then finally, research and development. So using the network that we've got through the AICC, but also through Ceres internally, we can help to identify host farm sites for field trials, tramline trials, split field trials, etc. And also project manage those trials using the expertise within our team. So we always make sure that the projects that we target are dealing with practical challenges in farming. So, for example, we've sent a couple of applications for the Adopt programme, which some of you may have seen, which is really to get farmers and growers to lead innovation and research as opposed to being academic-led. So they are particular projects that we're keen on pursuing. Thanks, Louise. Next slide, if you could, please. And really the main reason why we're here to talk to you, as Tim has said today, is to talk to you about our membership service. So this really compiles aspects of all of those service lines I've just described into a really neat package to take all that information, whether it's technical, economic or political insights, and bring it to your fingertips so that you really don't have to spend the time doing that. We all know how time consuming that is. And the real aim of the membership service is to, as I say, bring all that technical data, political data, economic data, all the information that you would make decisions from into one place. So the way in which we do that and the different mediums that this takes is monthly written digests. So as I say, these are sort of written email publication type newsletters that go out on a monthly basis, compiling all of those technical, economic and political insights. We also have a podcast series called Fields of the Future, which really covers practical issues in farming. You can see top right a picture of our most recent podcast, which is held on Spotify. And at the moment, it's been led by George Catchpole, one of our agronomists and farm consultants. We also have online agronomy club meetings, and we have our next meeting tomorrow evening, actually. And this is both presentation but also discussion based. So there's typically roughly sort of 20 minutes to half an hour presentation from agronomists and scientists. And then the other 30-40 minutes is opened up to discussion to talk about some of the challenges that we're seeing. The key thing about the agronomy club meetings and the membership in general is that it brings insights to you in real time or linked to the season, so that it's always relevant to what you're seeing on the ground at that particular time. We also have a range of skills webinars, so these can cover quite fundamental topics. Our first one was on data and statistics, to sort of improve confidence and capability in analysing data, looking at graphs, etc., and making sure that the data that we're looking at, our members are looking at, they're able to tell whether it's robust, statistically significant or not. We also have topical publications. So Danny will take you through these in a little bit more detail, but these can form sort of short form insights or longer form reports. We have a range of interactive tools and a weather data dashboard, which I won't go too much into, but Louise and Danny will show you that later in the presentation. And linked to some of the stuff we're doing around R&D, there's also opportunity to participate in trials. Now, the ADOPT program that I mentioned, the aim of that is to bring together many farmers, many growers, ideally sort of 20 plus, to deal with a challenge that is shared between those farmers and growers. So we can utilise our membership to do that as well. And we also have group discount available, but Tim will mention that a little bit later, so I won't dwell on that for now. And now I think I'll pass on to Danny. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex, and lovely to speak to you all today. Just kind of a bit of background about me. I joined in October and come from an academic history. So I did my PhD at Cranfield looking at biostimulants and their influence on soil health, partnered with Sainsbury's and their agronomy team. So I worked in their agronomy team as part of that PhD as well. So moving on to my role in Ceres Research, one of the things we do is provide these insights. And these are, as Alex said, short form updates on relevant topics that go throughout the season. So we always update our monthly fuel prices. Our monthly digest covers industry news, latest science, key reports that you can be aware of during that month and how they influence the agricultural industry, as well as short insights covering from herbicides to cultivations, varieties. And this is really a mixture of our research combined with the agronomist on the ground view to give you the most up-to-date information in a short, snappy piece of information. So you're not there reading through long reports trying to pick out that key information. Next slide, please. In terms of the reports, these are longer pieces of information. So they are not insights of those short, snappy pieces of content, and they're equally not a really long report thesis style document. What they aim to do is go into a little bit more depth into a key topic at that time, have a sort of an overview of the key points to take away, and then a bit more about the background, why this is being written in terms of the topical relevance, as well as the key insights. And we always try and finish these with a, what does it mean for you? What are the key takeaways that you can then use in your next steps? And these reports are also driven by our research requests. So our research request system is with Ceres Rural, where the agronomists on the ground, if they find something that they need a bit more information on, they can relay it back to us and we can go away and do some research and produce these timely reports for them and anyone else interested under our membership. Next slide, please. As briefly mentioned already, we also have podcasts and videos. The latest podcast was on biodiversity net gain. So if you haven't listened already, that episode looks into, it gets 3 different viewpoints from an estate already benefiting from BNG to the complexities of land development, and then also from rural consultants from Ceres Rural as to how it's impacting them and what they're thinking about moving forwards. In terms of the video side of things, we've got our monthly agronomy clubs, and Alex says these are really an opportunity to have a wider discussion between farmers and agronomists and yourselves to discuss what's going on in that month, but also looking ahead, what do I need to think about in the next couple of weeks? What might new research be out that might help support my decisions or further support new decisions, for example? And then lastly, our skills webinars, and these are developed to really enhance and support you in your decisions moving forwards, whether that is data and statistics, which is where we started, and that one really looked at how the real basics, as I'm sure you know, from data import, but right through to what kind of statistical tests there are available and how to present that data so that when you're viewing agronomy data that comes in from various different groups, you can really quickly understand what p-value means, what kind of level of validity that data has to better help you use that data going forwards. And another example here in our skills webinars, we've recently updated and done one on KPIs and benchmarking on farm. Next slide, please. So if we move now onto our interactive dashboard section of the membership, I'll talk about the rainfall and weather dashboard, and then Louise will take you through a couple of the other dashboards that we have available. This is a weather dashboard, as you can see, and we split it down into annual, seasonal and daily rainfall. And the idea is to be able to bring data in from the Met Office and the UK Centre of Hydrology to present it in a format that's really easy to use by area of the UK, as well as specific regions with regards to the daily rainfall. And the idea here is that you can have a quick snapshot with relevance to last month or last year in the particular region that you can then use to get a snapshot of what's gone on, whether that's to inform, you know, what's gone in the previous year, what might we be thinking about in agronomy terms coming up for the next season, or whether it's to support Harvest 25 reports, for example, or even wider data support for any requests you have in terms of, for example, I've recently used this to support with infrastructure on the need for irrigation facilities. On to the next one, over to you, Louise.
Thank you very much, Danny. I'd like to apologise in advance if anyone can hear my dog snoring very loudly underneath me. It's not my stomach, it's the dog. So just to take you through a couple of the other dashboards that we have available as part of our Ceres research offering. One that Danny mentioned that links in with our insights is we currently collect information on fuel prices regularly throughout every month throughout the season, and we've converted this into a dashboard to allow yourselves or to recommend for clients that you're working with, to enable them to look at what price they're paying for their fuel and compare that to our benchmarks and where we are. We've got a wide data set going back about 4 or 5 years that we can look at, and as we can all see, quite wide seasonal variation. But what you can do within this is you can select your product and you can select the farm average that you've paid for that period and be able to adjust that to see where you would have compared with the Ceres average that we've got throughout that period. You can also adjust the date ranges here to adjust the range that you're looking for that variation, and it's just a nice way to get a really quick snapshot as to how your fuel purchasing strategy is working, if you're looking at making some longer term changes, double checking your prices, but also that information to show where in the season those peaks and troughs are likely to come to be able to support that decision making going forward. Danny mentioned earlier that we ran a webinar recently looking at KPIs and benchmarking, and following a lot of work we'd done through Ceres Rural looking at labour and machinery benchmarking, what we have created off the back of speaking to lots of farmers and collecting a lot of data sets is we've identified a few key performance indicators that we've got a wide data set for to demonstrate farm performance for a couple of those key aspects for a combinable cropping farm. So what this dashboard allows you to show is it allows you to enter in your information as a farm. So you can put in your total cropped area and measures such as your fuel usage. And as you enter these, the tool runs the calculations through and shows how you are performing against that data set. And as you do those, the charts move to show where you're performing against those kind of different ranges, and then also RAG rates you in comparison to if you're performing well against those averages. It's somewhere that you might need to look and pay a little bit more attention to. What we've done here is try to select elements that are really easy for farmers to access and look at, and the sorts of things that are very easy for you as agronomists and advisors to have discussions with those farm businesses about. We know there are huge variations in systems that people are operating in. So this is not a yes, you're doing perfectly, or no, your result is absolutely terrible. What we're really trying to do through this dashboard is take a couple of the key metrics and elements that you'd be looking at and help it form part of that discussion and decision-making process. There could be some very legitimate reasons why you're slightly over capacity on your combining. That could be because you live in the far north and have a much shorter combining window that you're looking to operate over. It could be for many other reasons, but also it could spark the start of that conversation to say, oh, actually, are we slightly over capacity or are we under capacity? And what sort of systems could we look at and what changes could we make to try and bring that back to within the more median range? So again, with this, we've tried to create just a very nice, simple dashboard that's accessible through our membership website. Any of our members can access and have a little bit of a tinker around with to say, okay, if I slightly amended some of the options that I was looking at here, where would that take me to? And how would they move? And that dashboard works in a live fashion just to make those really nice and clear and easy to do. And as I say, we've tried to select measures. So litres of fuel, drilled hectares per metre of drill, combine cutter bar width, sprayer boom width, and the horsepower you've got, all measures that are nice and easy to access on farm while you're speaking to your clients. And then the calculations and the comparisons are all done in the background by the dashboard. The next dashboard, I'm just showing as a bit of an example. We're currently working through updating for our Harvest 25 yield comparison, which we're hoping to have live on our website by the end of this month. But again, just a really nice visual for farms and consultants to look at to compare their farm's performance with the ranges that we've got available for that season. And again, just a nice straightforward one. Wildly optimistic when I was building this that anyone got a winter bean yield of 6 tonnes a hectare, but just to show that you can very easily put your yields in and see where you're comparing against the ranges that we've had from our data sets from our yield survey that we've done this year. The final dashboard that I want to show to you is one that we're currently working in development at the moment, and we're looking at spray cost benchmarking. So at Ceres Rural, we collect spray costs from a number of different suppliers throughout the season, and we pull together a lot of the key actives and products that our agronomists are using at the time of the year, and we have collated all that together from a historic dashboard perspective. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to select the product that you've got, select a date range that you are operating in. So if I wanted to see what had been happening in the last few months, for example, I can update these fields here, and then that can show both the price fluctuation history that we've had, and where the general trend is going, what the average has been for that period. And once again, you can put in both the price that you have paid or the price that the farms you're working at are paying, and just see how that compares over the period. You can also then start to pinpoint when you've been buying and seeing kind of for those historic trends over the longer term where those price fluctuations are. And as I mentioned, we've been working on this for we've got about 300 products in here at the moment. This one is just an example that we've got, but we're continuing to develop that, and we're hoping again to have this one be live on our website at the end of the month. I'll pass back over to Tim.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Louise. So that's Alex, Danny and Louise have taken you through the sort of the insights, the information and the interactive areas on the website. As we've already touched on, we also run a number of events, the obvious one being the online agronomy club sessions that we run every month. We also do the On the Farm days, where we work with Ceres Rural to provide actual on the farm events 2 or 3 times a year in different locations. But the flagship event I really wanted to draw your attention to is the Agri Strategy Conference that we're working hard on at the moment. So the first one will take place on the 4th of December. That will then become an annual fixture thereafter. We're going to hold the first one in Cambridge, and then we'll see where we go with geography for subsequent events. But that's where we're going to hold the first one. And the idea is that it's very much for our clients, obviously, but also members of Ceres Research who want to come along and take the opportunity to have a real deep dive into all the relevant topics of the day, and the opportunity to network and discuss with peers and colleagues. The sort of idea of it will reflect on the previous 12 months sort of challenges and breakthroughs and learnings, and then very much look forwards in terms of where do we go from here? What does this mean for the seasons ahead? What are the solutions going to look like? And the sort of strategies that we might be able to roll out on farm based on the data and information we have available, and that will be presented through the conference. We're very pleased to say we've got a number of high-profile speakers confirmed. All of the presentations will be based on data analysis that Alex and Danny will support, and again, it very much aligning with that sort of independent theme to make sure that the information is very clear and valid for everyone. All I would say is we'd love to see as many of you there as possible. Tickets are selling really quite quickly, so if you do want to take up that opportunity, just have a search for Ceres Agri Strategy Conference and have a look at the programme, and if it's something you'd like to get involved with, we'd love to see you there. And just to flag, before I come on to a bit of a wider thing about membership, members of Ceres Research get a 50% discount on the ticket price. So that's the conference. Next slide, please. So really just trying to sort of bring it all to a summary, and then we'll sort of open up to questions. Excuse me. I guess the key question in your minds is what's in it for you and your clients. So hopefully we've given you a very sort of headline summary overview of all the things that our research team can offer, whether it's trials or performance reviews or industry insights. I think the key thing we're trying to get across today is there is this opportunity to become a member of Ceres Research, and that then provides exclusive access to lots of technical content and tools very much provided in tune with the season. So we're very keen that this isn't something where it's sort of static information that might be a few years old. We're trying to make this very real time, very accessible, and very much in tune with what's happening on the ground. So that's what everything is designed to achieve. So we're hoping that it gives you a competitive edge in that respect, because it's giving you data and information ahead of time. So whether it's through the digest, the podcast, or the webinars, the interactive dashboards that Louise and Danny have just taken you through, which allows you to cross-reference input prices, machine efficiency or yields, the agronomy club meetings, which as we've said, we have these monthly sessions with ourselves, with guest experts, and the idea is there it's a community, so it's not just a sort of us presenting every month. There's a little bit of content that which we deliver, and then we very much open it up to exchange those ideas and see what other people are seeing and experiencing it on the ground. There's the technical and policy insights to make sure everyone keeps up to date with all the various policy developments and deadlines and grant application windows and everything else. It does give you the opportunity to get into the various events that we put on, and obviously, as you'd expect, there are CPD points available with all of the content that we offer. The key thing being, and what we're trying to achieve in all of this, is that everything we do is working towards providing practical, actionable and independent insights for both farmers and agronomists. Next slide, please. So in terms of subscriptions, so we do have a professional group membership available, which Alex alluded to at the beginning of the presentation, and there are discounts available for multiple sign-ups, which you can access through your AICC membership. So I've put up on the slide there the different membership bands and the associated costs. So for one member, it starts at £700 per annum plus VAT. And then for additional members, the per person rate comes down, so that by the time you get to more than 10 members, it comes down to £500 each, and then also will include an annual presentation to the group. So hopefully that demonstrates that there's quite a lot of value in having a multiple sign up through your AICC membership. So if you want to sort of, talk amongst yourselves and you are interested and want to maximise that discount, then do coordinate that through the AICC office to get the best group discount. And I think the other key point that I want to make is, we've only just launched the membership service. This is early days for us. We're not pretending it's a fait accompli or it's perfect by any stretch. So, there will definitely be the opportunity for people that subscribe at this stage to influence and guide the service, so we can develop it further to make sure it's providing exactly what you need. So hopefully that's all been fairly clear, but conscious that there's probably some queries and details that you want to clarify. So firstly, thank you very much for listening to the presentation. As I say, it has been recorded and will be available thereafter. But I think now we can probably open it up for questions, and just remember to sort of unmic yourself, and we'll happy to field the questions from now. So anyone that wants to kick us off, please do. Andrew, do you want to kick us off with the first question?
Yeah, I will do too. Could you just clarify? I mean, obviously, there's it's all very well us putting our data into your KPI sort of a tool to find out where you are, whether it's hectares combined per meter of cutter or gas oil used per hectare, etc., or could you just and particularly, I guess a lot of our members will be thinking about fungicide prices and things, particular products. Could you just clarify where that information is come from, whether you're actually benchmarking it against, and also will any data that's been put in by us as members be actually used to populate that further?
Okay, so let's go on, Louise. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so the data inputs that have gone into it. So for the machinery benchmarking tool, we've got over 100 data sets that have gone in through there from a variety of sources, where we've done existing labour and machinery reviews, either for clients through other project work that we've done, and for the clients that we work with. So, and because they're quite straightforward KPIs to get the data for and build, we've collated that from across our client network. Because of our reach, that's probably a bit more kind of central England focused. I can't say there's a lot of Scottish data or anything else in there at the moment, but that's where that data set has come from. It's from generally from our client network for farms that we've been working with to create that data. And then for the spray costings, again, that's from work that we do. So as part of our service within Ceres Rural, we go out to a whole range of different suppliers on a kind of between monthly, bi-weekly basis, depending on the time of year that it is, and we go out and ask them for all of their current pricing against a whole list of products, that about 300 products that we request for. We collect those prices back in, and the data set that sits behind that is just the average of those prices for that particular period. In terms of the data being put in, when you put your data into those, they are static dashboards. We're not collating any of the data as that's being put in. That's something that we're possibly looking to develop over time, is for people to be able to input into those benchmarks to continue to improve them as we're developing them. But at the moment, because we wanted to keep the functionality as simple as possible, we've kept it so it's a static dashboard. You put your figures in, it gives you a result. That's not saved anywhere, that's not recorded anywhere, that's just against the data set, and we're continuing to update the data set in the background from our own client database. We're not looking to kind of scrape stuff off the data, information that's inputted and put that in.
Thanks, Louise. I think that's reassuring, because actually I think that it's really several of people on this call will have seen various benchmarking things from farm bench back to ADAS and things, and it's only as good as what you put in. And by the time I've messed about with it and put some stuff in, just sort of seeing how my farms compare and stuff, it has got to be an element of robustness to it, hasn't it? And equally, it's reassuring to hear that actually, what's essentially our data is not, when we put it in, we like to know that actually, if we are putting genuine, robust data in, that actually it's protected, and if you develop it and allow us to do that in time, we'll be well aware of that. So thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And what we were very aware of is when you're trying to create something that's very easy for people to access and to also scenario plan and have a bit of a play with, we didn't want to be somewhere where it's pulling data that might have just been a farmer going, oh well, what if I did this, or what if I did this? We wanted to keep it very dynamic, and as part of that have made the decision to not try and use it as a tool to collate lots of additional data, but to know the data set that we've got sitting behind it is really robust, and then allow people to access that to make their own as a decision-making tool.
Yeah, I think that scenario planning element is really important. I think that's quite, and we use it internally all the time when we're with clients, because then we can just, you know, experiment with different scenarios and different figures and just see the impact that has. Thank you very much, Andrew. Rob, do you want to go next?
Just looking at the names of the people on the call, most of them are probably in the same area that you're working. I'm an outlier. I'm up at Newcastle, so I'm County Durham, Northumberland, and things like that. Is the information going to be still useful to me, given the fact that, given my geographic area relative to where you're pulling, you know, your core area is not my core area, if you see what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'll maybe come up with an initial answer to that, Rob, because I think it's a good point, and then Louise and others might want to come in as well. I mean, where we feel that the geography is important, then the data is presented in such a way that you can select the region you want to look at. Certainly with the labour and machinery calculator, for example, absolutely yes, and I think Lou maybe touched on this in the presentation. The data largely comes from farms, as you're suggesting, Rob, in the sort of southeast central area. So the labour and machinery data might not be directly relevant to you, but all of the others rely on, you know, you can sort them by region. So you could just select the relevant region that you want to look at. And certainly with the price information, again, that's just collected from the marketplace. So shouldn't have too much of a geographical bias, but I do appreciate that potentially transport charges will come into that at some point. Louise, do you want to add to any of that?
No, just to say what follow on from what Tim has said, as I mentioned, for some of those there are more kind of regional biases just because of where we're operating and where we're getting our data from, and they are always noted in the kind of articles surrounding the dashboard as to kind of where there's any restrictions as to that. But for others, there are options to select for your region. So the weather dashboards, you're able to select for the specific regions that you're looking at, and the other ones, the pricing information, as Tim mentioned. So yeah, I think there might be a few where there's some regional tweaks that might not, you know, quite fully match up with your client base, but that would definitely be the minority of the information. In terms of what's happening in the agronomy clubs and through the insights that Danny's doing, they cover the whole of England.
I think from my point of view, the fact that if it clearly states where it's come from, then I hopefully have got enough nous about me that I can then interpret that accordingly.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
If that's clearly stated, then that's fine.
Yeah, we always try and provide the context for the area or the data source, or the, you know, the sort of try and define the parameters of the data that's being presented. So absolutely, as you say, Rob, if you are in a situation which doesn't sort of fit that definition, I think, as you say, you can use a bit of interpretation to sort of decide where you should sit. But I think as an aside, as we develop this, you know, we do want to make sure that it is servicing everyone's requirements. And not sort of excluding people. So, you know, it might be a conversation, Rob, for another day further down the track, that if you felt that there was something that would sort of particularly help with the provision of information in a particular area, then more than happy to have that discussion and look into that further. Danny, do you want to go next?
Yeah, it was just a point to add to that topic, that in some of our that you might have seen before, Ceres rural publications throughout the year, the farming updates, for example, we also produce sort of plus publications, and what they aim to do is take a topic from the farming update and really drill into it and understand a bit more about it, so understand what kind of research is going on. And we look at sort of taking a step out from the dashboards. We look more at what research is going on in the UK, in Europe and beyond. And we try and take those sort of international insights as well and apply it to what's going on in the UK. So that's just a link there to sort of, we look at a wider spectrum of research going on as well and try and relate it back to the UK.
Great, thanks, Danny. Any other questions or queries or points of clarification from anybody? Andrew, if you and others are happy that we've covered everything we need to for now, then we're happy to draw things to a close. And as I said, the recording will be available and we'll share the link with Sarah after this call has ended, so that Sarah can then share it around the wider membership so everyone can listen back to it. And also it goes without saying, if anyone wants to sort of pick up any discussions offline and ask us any questions or email us for more information, then obviously very happy to do that. So yeah, you know, the opportunity and the offer to talk things through is always there. So yeah, I mean, if there's no other questions today, Andrew, you happy that we've covered everything for now?
Yeah, thanks, Tim, and yeah, I'd just like to thank yourself, Louise, Alex, and Danny, as you know, for taking the time to do this. I think it's important. You know, you are AICC members. You know, you're colleagues of ours. You know, we appreciate you, and we're glad to have you on board as AICC members, and actually coming up. You know, this is something you're driving and you want to do, but actually at the same time, we respect and are grateful that actually you're coming up with an AICC membership package. You know, for those members that want to take it up, and you know, with some, you know, pretty good terms for us. I think looking at your charging structure, and say I think it's fair to reckon that you've been honest and open and said that, you know, it's something that's in development. You know, it's something that actually has the potential to drive independent agronomy, not just chemical decisions and things like that, but actually we're all much better than that. I mean, you know, and particularly in this current climate we're in at the moment with agriculture, you know, we're team members on farm, looking at all aspects of the team business, and I think actually having KPIs and things to actually see what businesses can do and develop. I've certainly looked at it this morning and got a few ideas, and you know, have a chat, Tim, if you know what I mean, about various KPIs and what we can do, and I think what potentially we can do in support of independent agronomy, sorry, as well. I think that's quite interesting as well, but that's perhaps not one for here. How we can take on the opposition and actually prove our benefit going forward is you know, could be a useful tool for AICC for that as well. So thank you very much for that. I'll pass back to you, Tim, but I just wanted to say thank you for, you know, coming in front of the membership and you know, and explaining what you're doing. It's appreciated. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Andrew, very much, and thank you all for the opportunity, because I know everyone's busy and everyone's time is valuable, so we do genuinely really appreciate that. And yeah, thank you, Andrew, because I think you sort of summed up our view as well. You know, we want to provide the service that is going to drive the sector forward, drive the membership forward. And just to reiterate the point that we both made, is we are very conscious that it is a work in progress, and we absolutely recognise there are things we can improve and adapt and do better, but we'd much rather that's based on user feedback and people that are really, you know, practically using it in the field, because that means we can produce a better and better service as we go forward. So it's a two-way thing, and we look forward to working with you all in the future. So thank you. We'll draw a close. Thank you to colleagues for presenting.
Tim,
and,
just before you go,
sorry, Rob.
Just before you go, sorry, is the recording going to be circulated to everyone that's on here, or just back
absolutely.
to Andrew and Sarah? Or?
Yeah, no, the recording will go out. Well, we'll send it to Sarah, and then the understanding is that Sarah will then share it with all of you, whether you've been on this call or not.
Yeah, I know we'll go on the membership area of the website. That's what I would assume was going to happen, but we'll confirm that. Yep. Yeah.
Right, okay, thanks.
So certainly the intention is it will be available to all, Rob. So we'll sort out the mechanics somehow.
Just there's a couple of people that that are clearly not on here that I just want them to see it. That's all. So
sure.
Well, I'll be keen for them to see it.
Yeah, great. No, very happy to share that, and very happy to have any discussions after the meeting. So thank you very much, everyone. We'll end the recording and the event there, and look forward to seeing you all very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.